time on the new KTM 350 XCF the other day, and boy, it was really something. I mean, it was just a blast to ride on the track. So, time to check out some different terrain and see what it does. So we're out here at Ocotillo Wells. We've had just a little bit of light rain, and it is clear and beautiful out today while it's raining everywhere else in Southern California. So off to hit a little desert and see how this 350 performs in a little more open terrain. Wrapping up another day of testing with the 2011 KTM 350 XCF. Got a couple of days on the motocross track, a couple of days out in the desert now. And, you know, I'm kind of starting to get a feel for this bike. We're sort of having a love-hate relationship with each other, but we've come to an understanding. If I go faster, it'll work better. And that pretty much kind of sums up what this bike's about. This thing's pretty much a bike that wants to be ridden hard. The faster you go, the harder you push it, the better it works. What that means on the motocross track is that the thing is, it's good. It's much better than I am. It loves ruts. You come into a rut, bad line, or want to change your line, or even take a different angle into a corner, it just reacts instantly. It's super stable. The converse side of that is I'm still struggling with front wheel traction a little bit. So if you come into a flat corner, you really don't have any place to put the bike. It's kind of vague feeling. It doesn't have a lot of feedback, and every once in a while I just have one of those moments where the front end starts to go and I go, wow, where'd that come from? I think I'm probably riding with not enough spring in the rear, so that's going to be one of the next things that I want to try is put heavier spring on this and making sure I got the ride height correct. In general, the suspension, it works good, but it's harsh. It's not a fuzzy, feel-good kind of ride by any means. Again, every time when I think I'm getting to my limit, I mean, the bike itself is not even close to its limit. The harder I push it, the better it works. But I find myself kind of getting tired on it fairly quick because I'm doing a lot of work on the track, and it won't just let me cruise around and have a good time. It requires my attention all the time. One of the things we did, I was struggling with just the overall feel on the bike after the first couple of rides, so I swapped out the handlebars. Now the stock bar that comes on this is the Renthal YZ Bend. 673 I think is the number, but YZ Bend is what's called in the catalog. The problem with that bar is it's got a lot of sweep to it, and you can't rotate it very far forward or back. It really only has about one position where it's happy. What I did was I would put the old style Renthal 608 on there, you know, KTM Bend forever. And that made a big difference for me on this bike. I am so much more comfortable on it. And I can rotate it up a little bit for standing up in the desert, rotate it back a little bit for riding on the track. And that took care of some of my initial issues. The bike is still pretty small feeling for me. And some of it's kind of goofy things, like I'm having a little trouble with the shift lever. Every KTM forever, I've never had a problem getting my foot under the shift lever good. This one, I find myself actually shifting with the side of my boot on the track, and really having to work to keep my toes out of the ground because I get it pointed down so much trying to get underneath the shift lever. So, you know, KTM really set out to build Japanese bike here. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I rode back to back with a buddy of mine the other day with a YZ450, and we swapped bikes, and it's amazing how similar they are by comparison. Or if I took my, you know, one of my other KTMs, my 450XC, I mean, it and that YZ have almost nothing in common. One of the consequences of that is, you know, this is really a bike that's built for somebody that's about 5'8" to 5'10". Once you get above that, particularly like me, over 6 feet, I'm still just struggling a little bit with the overall size of the bike. Some of the other good parts are, went out in the desert, just hammered some big ugly whoops in, big desert race kind of whoops. And man, that's where the weight of this bike really starts to show itself. It feels very light, very agile, and it never really wants to get out of control. Again, we're back to that whole concept of the harder you push it, the better it works. This is a bike that's going to polarize a lot of people. I mean, first of all, KTM's going to sell all of them. There's so much interest in it. It's not like we have to help them sell their motorcycles this year. But there's definitely going to be some people who fall in love with this bike and other people who just don't get it at all. So it's still an ongoing learning process for me. And that in itself is a little bit surprising because I'm a KTM guy. Every KTM I climb on, I almost instantly feel at home with. Every time I ride this bike, I learn something new about it or get some new sensations about it. So next on the list, try a stiffer rear spring and make sure that I've got the ride height and the suspension settings set correct for me, and see if that cures some of that harshness in the suspension. So I've got to make a call with KTM, see if we can line up a day to go ride with them. And but that's where we're at now. It's come along pretty good. Fuel injection's awesome. Bike also seems to be getting pretty good fuel mileage. I'm going to try to get out and put the GPS on it, see if we can figure out what you know, the range of the tank is. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned, and we'll bring you more on the 350 XCF as we proceed.